Ladies and gentlemen, if you are enjoying my videos, please click the like button. It is the only way the YouTube algorithm really notices me. I would be very grateful to you. The island's atmosphere and natural surroundings are depicted with an eerie precision that evokes a sense of austerity and impartiality. The sky and the ocean are described as the color of medical stainless steel, a hue that conjures images of cold, unyielding metal. This particular shade paints the scene with a stark, almost surgical clarity, emphasizing the harsh and unforgiving nature of the volcanic island. The sky is a blank, steely expanse, devoid of warmth and light. Clouds, if any, are sparse and thin, trailing across the heavens like wisps of smoke from an extinguished flame. The sun, obscured by this metallic veil, casts a pallid glow, failing to pierce the oppressive grayness that dominates the sky. Below, the ocean mirrors this somber tone, its surface smooth and uninviting, like a vast sheet of polished steel. The waves, when they break, do so with a muted, mechanical rhythm, as if driven by an unseen engine. The water lacks the vibrant blues and greens of more hospitable seas, instead presenting a cold, silvery sheen that reflects the grim sky above. The island's landscape, shaped by ancient volcanic activity, is equally unwelcoming. Jagged rocks and barren cliffs rise abruptly from the shoreline, their surfaces weathered and scarred by millennia of relentless exposure to the elements. The vegetation is sparse, with twisted, gnarled trees and shrubs clinging to the inhospitable soil. Every aspect of the environment seems to exude a sense of relentless detachment, as if the island itself is indifferent to the presence of life. This harsh, steely imagery sets the stage for a tale of dread and mystery. The island's unyielding nature mirrors the challenges faced by those who dare to tread its shores, hinting at the dangers and dark secrets that lie hidden beneath its stark exterior. The description of the sky and ocean as the color of medical stainless steel not only highlights the island's severe beauty, but also foreshadows the chilling events that are to unfold in this foreboding setting. The treacherous journey across the ocean floor during low tide is a harrowing ordeal that underscores the inherent dangers of such a venture. As the sea retreats, it reveals a landscape that is both mesmerizing and perilous. The exposed ocean bed is a desolate expanse of black sand and jagged rocks, stretching out toward the horizon like the skeletal remains of a forgotten world. The path is fraught with hidden threats. Pools of water, left behind by the receding tide, conceal sharp, barnacle-encrusted stones and treacherous pits of quicksand that could swallow an unwary traveler whole. The wet sand shifts unpredictably underfoot, making each step a precarious gamble between stability and sudden collapse. One wrong move could lead to a twisted ankle or a fall onto the sharp rocks that litter the path. The ominous presence of the ocean looms on either side. Although temporarily withdrawn, the sea remains a formidable adversary, its waves crashing in the distance with a relentless, thunderous roar. The water is cold and merciless, and the knowledge that it will soon return adds a constant undercurrent of urgency and fear. The tide will inevitably surge back, transforming the exposed path into a deadly trap. The danger is not limited to the landscape alone. The rising tide brings with it powerful waves that can catch even the most vigilant off guard. A single, unexpected surge of water can knock a person off their feet, dragging them out to sea with a terrifying force. The prospect of being swept away by these sudden waves is a constant, chilling reality. The ocean, with its immense and indifferent power, waits for no one. The traveler must be swift and sure-footed, constantly aware of the encroaching tide. The dim light of dusk or dawn often accompanies these journeys, casting long, eerie shadows across the landscape and obscuring potential hazards. The fading light plays tricks on the eyes, transforming harmless rocks into looming figures and turning shallow pools into bottomless chasms. Every shadow becomes a potential threat, every sound a warning of impending danger. The journey across the ocean floor during low tide is a race against time and the elements, a test of nerve and endurance. It is a path that demands respect and caution, where the margin for error is razor thin. Those who dare to traverse it must contend with the ever-present possibility of disaster, their survival hinging on their ability to navigate the perilous terrain before the sea reclaims its domain. The exposed ocean bed is a place of raw, untamed beauty, but it is also a reminder of nature's unforgiving power. a place where one misstep can lead to a watery grave. Over the centuries, the island has undergone dramatic transformations, both geological and social, shaping its current haunting and desolate character. Once teeming with life, the island was home to a small but thriving community. Villages dotted the landscape, their inhabitants eking out a living from the sea and the rugged, volcanic soil. Stone houses, weathered but resilient, stood as testament to human perseverance against the harsh natural elements. However, the island's volcanic nature was both a blessing and a curse. Periodic eruptions reshaped the terrain, covering fertile lands in thick layers of ash and lava, and forcing the inhabitants to adapt or move. Earthquakes would often accompany these eruptions, causing the ground to shudder and crack, creating new fissures and altering the island's topography. Over time, the once vibrant community began to dwindle. The relentless geologic upheavals, coupled with the isolation and the difficulty of subsistence living, drove people away. The island's abandonment was not a sudden event, but a gradual exodus, spurred by a series of natural disasters and the slow erosion of hope. As the villagers left, nature began to reclaim what was once hers. The stone houses, now empty and crumbling, were overtaken by creeping vines and hardy shrubs. Paths that once bustled with activity became overgrown with wild grasses and thorny bushes, erasing the traces of human habitation. The encroaching wilderness did more than obscure the old settlements. It transformed the island into a place of eerie beauty and profound desolation. Trees, twisted and stunted by the relentless winds and poor soil, sprouted amidst the ruins. Their gnarled branches reached out like skeletal hands, casting twisted shadows on the ground. The underbrush thickened, turning paths into labyrinthine trails that only the bravest or most desperate would dare to traverse. The island's coastline, once a bustling hub of fishing and trade, became a jagged and foreboding line of black rocks and hidden coves. The tides, unchallenged by human intervention, reshaped the shore, carving out new cliffs and inlets. Seabirds nested in the ruins of old docks, their cries echoing eerily across the water. The ocean, always a source of sustenance and danger, continued its relentless assault on the land, gradually eroding the coastline and creating new hazards. Yet, it was not only the physical landscape that changed. The island's atmosphere grew darker, imbued with a sense of abandonment and loss. The once familiar sounds of daily life were replaced by the howling wind and the distant crash of waves. The air seemed heavier, thick with the ghosts of the past and the memories of those who had lived and died there. Stories of the island's cursed fate began to spread, adding a layer of superstition to its already fearsome reputation. The most significant change, however, was the island's complete submission to nature's dominion. Without the guiding hand of humanity, the island reverted to a wild, untamed state. Animals, previously kept at bay by human presence, roamed freely. The island became a sanctuary for seabirds, seals, and other creatures, their calls and movements the only signs of life amidst the ruins. The island's transformation is a testament to the power of nature and the impermanence of human endeavors. It serves as a chilling reminder of the fragility of civilization in the face of geologic and environmental forces. The once inhabited and vibrant island is now a spectral landscape of natural beauty and forgotten history, a place where the past lingers in every stone and shadow. The silence is profound, the isolation complete, making the island a perfect setting for tales of horror and mystery. Rodion's earliest memories were steeped in the stark contrast of light and shadow that defined his family's remote life on the island. The small wooden house, perched precariously on a cliff's edge, seemed to teeter between the sky and the sea, much like Rodion's childhood teetered between innocence and the encroaching darkness of his family's secrets. His mother, Elena, was a stern woman, her face perpetually etched with the lines of worry and fatigue. She had a hardness to her, a result of years spent battling the harsh elements and the even harsher realities of island life. Yet behind her steely exterior was a deep well of love for her children, a love expressed not through soft words or gentle touches but through her tireless efforts to provide for them. She would rise before dawn, her silhouette a familiar shadow in the dim light, stoking the fire and preparing the meager breakfast that would fuel them through the day. Rodion's father, Alexei, was a man of few words, his silence often mistaken for coldness. He was a fisherman, spending long hours at sea, his absence a constant in Rodion's life. When he was home, his presence was like a ghostly apparition, a figure who haunted the edges of their lives but rarely stepped into the light. The few times he did speak, his words were laced with a melancholy that Rodion didn't yet understand but felt deeply. Rodion had two younger sisters, Anya and Katerina. Anya, the elder of the two, was a quiet, introspective child, often found lost in the pages of a book or staring out at the sea, her thoughts a mystery to all but herself. Katerina, on the other hand, was a wild spirit, her laughter a rare but precious sound that could momentarily chase away the gloom. Rodion felt a deep sense of responsibility for his sisters, a role thrust upon him by the unspoken expectations of his parents. Their home, though small and modest, was a place of safety for Rodion, a sanctuary against the island's relentless storms. The walls were adorned with relics of the past, faded photographs, trinkets from the mainland, and handmade crafts that spoke of a simpler, happier time. These objects, though inanimate, held the stories of his ancestors, their silent testimonies a reminder of the island's long and turbulent history. As Rodion grew older, he began to notice the cracks in the facade of his family's life. He overheard hushed conversations between his parents, their voices tense and filled with worry. He saw the toll that the island's isolation took on his mother, the way her shoulders hunched a little more each year, the light in her eyes dimming. He felt the weight of his father's unspoken despair, a heaviness that seemed to hang in the air whenever he was near. One memory, in particular, stood out to Rodion a night when he was no more than 6 years old. A fierce storm had swept in from the sea, the wind howling like a banshee and the rain lashing against the windows. He had awoken to the sound of his parents arguing, their voices rising above the storm's fury. Creeping down the narrow hallway, he had peeked around the corner to see his father standing by the door, his face a mask of rage and sorrow, his mother pleading with him, her hands clutching his arm as if to anchor him. That night, the sea, which had been a source of sustenance and a gateway to the wider world, now seemed menacing and insatiable, its waves crashing with a hunger that mirrored the emptiness growing inside him. The wind, which had once sung him to sleep, now whispered dark secrets and ominous warnings. As he entered adolescence, Rodion found himself increasingly drawn to the island's darker corners, the abandoned houses and forgotten paths. He felt a kinship with these places, a reflection of the loneliness and decay he saw in his own life. The island's history, filled with tales of loss and hardship, became intertwined with his own story, each ghostly whisper a reminder of the inevitable decline that seemed to shadow his every step. Rodion's experiences on the island, the familial bonds strained and frayed by the harsh realities of their existence, shaped him in profound ways. The early loss of innocence, the burden of unspoken responsibilities, and the pervasive sense of isolation all contributed to the person he would become, a man forever haunted by his past, forever seeking answers in the shadows of his memories. The ocean and sky loomed large over Rodion's life, their ever-changing faces mirroring the turmoil and uncertainty that marked his existence. The ocean, with its vast, unyielding expanse, was a constant reminder of life's unpredictability. Its waters could be calm and inviting one moment, then treacherous and unyielding the next. To Rodion, the ocean symbolized the capricious nature of fate, the way it could sweep you away in an instant or leave you stranded on the shores of despair. The sky above the island was no less mercurial. It could shift from a brilliant azure to a menacing steel gray in the blink of an eye, reflecting the volatile emotions that often raged within him. On clear days, the sky seemed to stretch endlessly, offering a tantalizing glimpse of freedom and possibility. But when storm clouds gathered, it became a suffocating canopy, pressing down with an oppressive weight that mirrored the burdens Rodion carried. Together, the ocean and sky formed a backdrop to Rodion's life, their shifting moods a constant reminder of the forces beyond his control. They were the silent witnesses to his struggles, their vastness dwarfing his small, solitary existence and underscoring the theme of fate's indifference to individual suffering. In their relentless dance of change, Rodion saw a reflection of his own search for stability and meaning in a world that often seemed to conspire against him. Rodion's early life was marked by a profound sense of isolation and a desperate longing for connection. Growing up on the remote island, his world was confined to the small community of weather-beaten houses and the wild, untamed landscape that surrounded them. As a young man, Rodion felt the pull of the horizon, an urge to escape the confines of his insular world and seek out the broader experiences that lay beyond the island's shores. His first taste of true companionship came when he met Kostya, a newcomer to the island whose arrival sparked both curiosity and hope within Rodion. Kostya was different from anyone Rodion had known, a traveler with stories of distant lands and adventures that seemed like something out of a dream. Their friendship quickly deepened, and for the first time Rodion found someone who shared his yearning for change and his desire to break free from the past. With Kostya's encouragement, Rodion began to envision a future beyond the island. They spent countless nights talking about the places they would visit, the people they would meet, and the lives they would build far from the shadow of their respective pasts. Kostya's tales of bustling cities and exotic landscapes fueled Rodion's imagination, igniting a spark that had long been dormant within him. The decision to leave the island was not an easy one. It meant severing ties with the only home he had ever known, abandoning the few constants in his life for the uncertainty of the unknown. But the promise of a new beginning, coupled with Kostya's unwavering support, gave Rodion the courage to take that leap of faith. Their departure was marked by a mixture of excitement and trepidation, the thrill of adventure tempered by the weight of what they were leaving behind. Life beyond the island was a whirlwind of experiences. Rodion found himself in a world that was both exhilarating and terrifying, filled with opportunities and dangers in equal measure. He and Kostya traveled from town to town, taking on odd jobs and immersing themselves in the vibrant tapestry of life beyond the island. Rodion reveled in the freedom and the sense of possibility that each new place offered, but he also struggled with the challenges of forging a new identity and finding his place in an unfamiliar world. Despite the hardships, Rodion's bond with Kostya remained a source of strength. Together, they navigated the ups and downs of their journey, their shared experiences forging a connection that went beyond mere friendship. Kostya became Rodion's anchor, a constant in the ever-changing landscape of his new life, and Rodion found solace in the knowledge that, no matter where their travels took them, they would face the future together. However, the specter of the past was never far behind. Rodion's memories of the island, of his family, and the unresolved tensions that had driven him away continued to haunt him. As much as he tried to distance himself from his old life, the echoes of his childhood lingered, a reminder of the unresolved wounds that still festered beneath the surface. It was a shadow that neither distance nor time could fully dispel, a haunting presence that shaped his journey even as he sought to escape it. In the end, Rodion's transformation was as much about confronting his past as it was about embracing his future. Through his travels and the new relationships he formed, he learned to face the demons that had driven him from the island, finding strength in his resilience and the support of those who cared for him. His journey was not just one of physical distance, but of emotional and spiritual growth, a quest for understanding and acceptance that led him to a deeper sense of self. Rodion's story is one of constant change and adaptation, a testament to the human spirit's capacity to endure and evolve. It is a tale of the search for belonging in a world that often seems vast and indifferent, and of the enduring hope that, no matter how far we travel, we can find our place and our purpose. Rodion's relationship with his father was a complex tapestry of fleeting moments of warmth and long stretches of cold distance. His father, a stern and stoic man, often seemed more comfortable in the company of the island's relentless winds and unforgiving waves than in the quiet intimacy of home. Rodion's earliest memories of his father were tinged with awe and fear. He would watch from a distance as his father worked tirelessly, carving out a life for their family against the harsh backdrop of the island's rugged landscape. There were moments of connection that Rodion clung to, like the time his father took him out on his small fishing boat for the first time. The air was crisp, and the sea was deceptively calm, a rare lull in the island's typically tumultuous weather. Rodion remembered the rough feel of the wooden oars, the smell of salt and seaweed, and the quiet pride in his father's eyes as he taught his son the art of navigating the waters. It was in these moments that Rodion felt a bond with his father, a silent understanding forged in the shared struggle against nature's indifference. But these moments were overshadowed by his father's tragic death. It happened on a night when the sea was particularly vicious, its waves crashing against the cliffs with a ferocity that seemed almost sentient. His father had gone out to secure the boat, a routine task, but this time he did not return. Rodion and his mother waited in vain, their anxiety turning to despair as dawn broke without any sign of him. When his father's body was found washed ashore, the life drained from his eyes, it shattered Rodion's world. The loss left a gaping void, a wound that never fully healed, and a lingering sense of unfinished business between them. Rodion's father's death cast a long shadow over his life, influencing his decisions and shaping his path. It was a catalyst for Rodion's desire to escape the island, to find a place where he could carve out his own identity away from the haunting memories of his father's untimely demise. The tragedy instilled in Rodion a sense of urgency, a drive to seize control of his fate before it could be snatched away by forces beyond his control. In the years that followed his departure from the island, Rodion immersed himself in the vibrant and fast-paced world of modern youth culture. He adopted the trappings of a hipster, embracing a lifestyle that celebrated individuality and nonconformity. His wardrobe transformed, filled with vintage clothes, carefully curated to reflect a persona that was both effortlessly cool and meticulously constructed. The island boy who once sought to blend into the background now stood out with his eclectic fashion choices and a cultivated air of detachment. Rodion's social identity further evolved with his foray into blogging. He started a blog where he chronicled his travels and mused on life, art, and the human condition. His writing resonated with a growing audience, drawn to his raw, unfiltered take on the world. Through his blog, Rodion found a way to connect with others, to share his experiences and insights, and to build a community that extended far beyond the physical confines of his new home. Working for a news portal added another layer to Rodion's identity. He became a digital journalist, covering stories that ranged from local events to global phenomena. This job not only provided him with a steady income but also satisfied his innate curiosity and desire to be at the heart of the action. The fast-paced environment of the newsroom was a far cry from the slow, measured rhythms of the island, but Rodion thrived in it. He relished the opportunity to influence public opinion, to uncover hidden truths, and to make his mark on the world. Rodion's embrace of hipster culture, his success as a blogger, and his role as a journalist all served to establish his place within the modern social fabric. They were more than just roles or labels, they were expressions of his journey, his transformation from a boy haunted by his past to a man actively shaping his future. Yet, even as he navigated this new world, the echoes of the island and his father's legacy remained with him, a constant reminder of where he came from and the forces that had set him on this path. The island where Rodion grew up was a microcosm of his internal turmoil and the harsh realities that shaped his life. The landscape was dominated by a medical clinic, an institution that stood as a symbol of both hope and despair. Its sterile, stainless steel facade reflected the cold efficiency of modern medicine, contrasting sharply with the untamed natural beauty of the island. This juxtaposition mirrored Rodion's own struggles, caught between the desire for healing and the inevitability of pain and loss. The ocean, with its mercurial temperament, was another powerful symbol in Rodion's life. Its waters could be as calm and inviting as a gentle embrace, or as wild and unforgiving as his deepest fears. The ocean's ever-changing nature represented the uncertainty and unpredictability of his existence. It was a constant reminder of his father's tragic end, yet also a source of solace and introspection. The rhythmic ebb and flow of the tides mirrored Rodion's own emotional tides, the ceaseless push and pull of his quest for meaning and connection. The island settlement, a collection of weather-beaten houses clinging to the rugged coastline, was a testament to human resilience and the struggle to carve out a life in an unforgiving environment. This small, insular community reflected Rodion's feelings of isolation and his longing for belonging. The remnants of the village, slowly being reclaimed by nature, spoke to the transient nature of human endeavor and the inexorable march of time. These abandoned structures were silent witnesses to the lives once lived there, echoing Rodion's own sense of abandonment and his search for a place to call home. Rodion's life was marked by a profound sense of loneliness, a void that had been with him since childhood. The tragic loss of his father left an indelible mark on his psyche, casting a long shadow over his formative years. This early encounter with death instilled in Rodion a deep-seated fear of loss and a yearning for connection that would drive his actions for years to come. As a child, Rodion was acutely aware of his solitude. The island, with its vast, empty expanses, seemed to amplify his isolation. The few friends he had were transient, coming and going with the tides, leaving Rodion to navigate his lonely existence largely on his own. His relationship with his mother, while loving, was tinged with mutual grief, each of them struggling to fill the void left by his father's absence. In his adolescence, Rodion's loneliness manifested as a restless energy, a burning desire to escape the confines of the island and discover a world beyond its shores. His meeting with Kostya, a fellow seeker of truth and adventure, was a turning point. Kostya introduced Rodion to the world of ideas and exploration, igniting in him a passion for travel and new experiences. Together, they ventured beyond the island, searching for meaning in distant lands and unfamiliar cultures. Rodion's journey through adulthood was a continual balancing act between seeking connection and embracing solitude. His foray into the world of blogging allowed him to share his thoughts and experiences with a wide audience, creating a virtual community that alleviated some of his loneliness. Yet, this digital connection often felt superficial, a pale substitute for the genuine human interaction he craved. His work as a journalist brought him into contact with a diverse array of people and stories, furthering his quest for meaning. He uncovered hidden truths and shed light on the lives of others, finding purpose in his role as a storyteller. However, the transient nature of his assignments and the inherent detachment required in his profession often left him feeling more isolated than ever. Throughout his life, Rodion grappled with the tension between his need for solitude and his desire for connection. The island, the ocean, and the settlement were not just physical locations but symbols of his internal struggle. His environment mirrored his emotional landscape, reflecting the themes of loneliness and the search for meaning that defined his existence. In the end, Rodion's story is one of resilience and the relentless pursuit of purpose. Despite the challenges and tragedies he faced, he continued to seek out new experiences and connections, driven by an unyielding hope that somewhere he would find the sense of belonging and understanding he so desperately sought. His journey was not just a physical one, but a deeply personal quest to reconcile his past, embrace his present, and find meaning in the ever-uncertain future. The island's relentless isolation seemed to hold 1,000 secrets beneath its placid facade. One chilly, overcast morning, Rodion and Kostya ventured down to the beach, seeking solace in the rhythmic whispers of the waves. As they walked, Kostya pointed to a shape lying motionless on the sand. At first it seemed like a piece of driftwood or seaweed, but as they approached, a gnawing sense of dread filled Rodion's chest. What lay before them was not the detritus of the ocean, but a corpse, half buried in the damp sand. The body was that of a man, his clothes tattered and his skin ghostly pale. His lifeless eyes stared vacantly towards the gray sky, and the sea had left a trail of salt and debris across his unmoving form. Rodion's heart pounded as he scanned the familiar coastline, suddenly foreign and sinister in the presence of death. The sight was a stark and eerie contrast to the mundane reality of their isolated settlement. What made the discovery more unsettling was the fact that no one in the small community had reported anyone missing. The residents, though few and reclusive, were accounted for, leading to an unnerving mystery. The man was an intruder in their secluded world, a grim puzzle piece that did not belong. Rodion and Kostya, despite their horror, felt compelled to understand how this stranger had come to rest on their shores. The village itself was an enigma, existing in a strange limbo, detached from the rest of the world. Officially, the settlement did not exist. There were no records, no maps marking its location, and certainly no bureaucracy overseeing its inhabitants. This lack of recognition lent the village a surreal, almost mythical quality. It was a place where people could disappear from the world, either by choice or by fate, and live beyond the reach of conventional society. In the absence of formal infrastructure, the villagers had grown accustomed to a self-reliant lifestyle. There was no morgue to handle the dead, no official channels to report or investigate the discovery of a corpse. The isolation bred a unique resilience, a community bonded by necessity and shared secrecy. Each resident knew that their lives were interwoven with the untamed nature around them, and they lived with an acute awareness of their own mortality. The absence of official oversight also meant that the community operated on its own rules, a system built on trust and mutual aid rather than legal mandates. When Rodion and Kostya reported the body to the village elders, the response was swift but unorthodox. There was no call to the authorities, no police to cordon off the scene. Instead, the elders gathered to discuss the mysterious arrival, their faces etched with concern and curiosity. The discovery of the body triggered a silent alarm within the community. It was a stark reminder of the precariousness of their existence, a jarring interruption of their secluded lives. The elders decided to bury the body themselves, in a quiet corner of the island, far from prying eyes. This clandestine burial, done without ceremony or documentation, epitomized the village's peculiar way of life, one that was simultaneously self-sufficient and vulnerable to the outside world's harsh realities. Rodion and Kostya, left with more questions than answers, felt the weight of their discovery. The image of the dead man haunted their thoughts, a grim symbol of the unknown that lay beyond their insular world. The beach, once a place of refuge, now held an unsettling reminder of their isolation and the mysteries that lurked just beyond their understanding. Upon closer examination of the corpse, Rodion and Kostya discovered a series of bizarre anomalies that defied rational explanation. The most unsettling detail was the arrangement of the man's eyes, positioned on the outer edges of his temples rather than in their usual sockets. It was as if his gaze could pierce through the veil of reality itself, staring into realms unseen by mortal eyes. The skin around the eyes bore strange, intricate markings, resembling ancient symbols of forgotten lore. They seemed to pulse with a faint, otherworldly light, casting eerie shadows across the man's pallid face. Rodion felt a shiver run down his spine as he studied the cryptic patterns, sensing an ominous presence lurking just beyond the threshold of understanding. The unnatural positioning of the eyes hinted at it a deeper mystery, one that transcended the laws of nature and delved into the realm of the supernatural. It was a chilling reminder that the island held secrets far older and more enigmatic than anything he had encountered before. As Rodion and Kostya grappled with the implications of their discovery, a sense of dread settled over them like a shroud, foreshadowing the dark forces that lurked in the shadows. As the investigation into the mysterious death unfolded, tensions simmered between Rodion and Kostya, each driven by conflicting motives and loyalties. Kostya, ever the ambitious journalist, saw the corpse as a potential headline-grabbing story, a chance to make his mark in the competitive world of investigative reporting. To him, the body was merely a means to an end, a stepping stone towards professional recognition and acclaim. But for Rodion, the situation was far more personal. His ties to the tight-knit community ran deep, and he felt a profound sense of responsibility towards his fellow islanders. To exploit their tragedy for the sake of sensationalism seemed callous and disrespectful, a betrayal of the trust they had placed in him. As they clashed over their divergent priorities, the rift between Rodion and Kostya widened, fueled by their mutual distrust and resentment. Each saw the other as an obstacle standing in the way of their own objectives, blind to the nuances of the situation and the complex web of emotions that entangled them both. Caught between loyalty and ambition, friendship and professional rivalry, Rodion and Kostya found themselves locked in a precarious dance of conflicting interests, a struggle that would test the limits of their resolve and ultimately lead them down a path fraught with danger and deception. Nestled amidst the rugged landscape of the island, the village bore the scars of its tumultuous past etched into every crumbling facade and weather-worn cobblestone. A testament to resilience in the face of adversity, its history was a tapestry woven with threads of hardship and triumph, tragedy and resilience. The specter of a devastating earthquake loomed large over the village, its echoes reverberating through the generations like a haunting refrain. The cataclysmic event had reshaped the land, tearing asunder the very foundations upon which the community had been built. Yet, from the ashes of destruction, a new chapter had begun, a testament to the indomitable spirit of its inhabitants. But it was not only the geological upheavals that defined the village's character, it was also the rich tapestry of culture and tradition that flourished amidst the rugged terrain. From age-old rituals passed down through the ages to the vibrant tapestry of folklore that painted the fabric of daily life, the village was a living testament to the resilience of the human spirit in the face of adversity. Cut off from the outside world by jagged cliffs and treacherous waters, the village existed in a state of eerie isolation, a forgotten outpost clinging to the edge of the world. In the aftermath of the earthquake, the once thriving community had been reduced to a shadow of its former self, its streets deserted and its buildings crumbling into ruin. But beneath the surface of desolation lurked darker secrets, whispered rumors of malevolent forces that prowled the night and ancient curses that bound the land in eternal torment. The very air seemed to thrum with an otherworldly energy, suffused with the echoes of a past best left undisturbed. For those who dared to venture into its depths, the village held untold dangers at every turn, treacherous cliffs that plummeted it into the roiling sea below, hidden sinkholes that yawned hungrily in the earth, and the ever-present threat of unseen perils lurking in the shadows. As Rodion and Kostya delved deeper into the heart of the village, they would come to realize that some secrets were never meant to be unearthed, and that the true horror lay not in the darkness itself, but in the revelations it concealed. Rodion, once a luminary in the bustling metropolis as a successful plastic surgeon, found himself adrift in the dissonant harmony of the village, a place where the echoes of his former brilliance seemed to fade into oblivion. The transition from the gleaming towers of urban ambition to the desolate shores of the isolated settlement left him feeling like a fish out of water, struggling to find his footing in this unfamiliar terrain. Gone were the days of accolades and adulation, replaced now by the eerie silence of a world untouched by the relentless march of progress. Where once he had stood at the pinnacle of his profession, now he found himself a mere shadow of his former self, grappling with the existential uncertainty that gnawed at the edges of his consciousness. The fateful encounter with Kostya, a journalist whose ambitions knew no bounds, served as a stark reminder of the gaping chasm that separated their respective worlds. While Kostya's aspirations soared on the wings of journalistic acclaim, fueled by the pursuit of sensational stories and headline-grabbing exposes, Rodion found himself mired in the murky depths of introspection, searching for meaning amidst the desolation that surrounded him. Their meeting was not merely a collision of personalities, but a clash of worldviews, one driven by the relentless pursuit of truth, the other haunted by the specter of existential ennui. As they navigated the treacherous waters of their divergent paths, each grappling with their own demons, they would come to realize that the true horror lay not in the darkness that enveloped them, but in the stark realization of their own mortality and insignificance in the face of the unknown. The driver, weary of the monotony that permeated life in the desolate settlement, yearned for the simple joys of familial bliss, a longing born from the depths of his soul, a primal desire to reconnect with the warmth and comfort of domesticity that had long eluded him. In the quiet solitude of the village, where time seemed to stand still and the winds whispered secrets of forgotten dreams, he found solace in the hope of a brighter tomorrow, where laughter would once again fill the empty spaces that echoed with the hollow resonance of lost opportunities. Meanwhile, Rodion's quest was of a different nature, a journey inward, fraught with uncertainty and self-doubt, as he grappled with the unfamiliar contours of his new reality. Stripped of the trappings of success and adulation, he found himself adrift in a sea of existential angst, desperately seeking refuge in the elusive embrace of self-understanding and self-worth. His was a quest not for external validation, but for inner peace, a journey of self-discovery that would test the limits of his resolve and redefine the very essence of his being. Through the lens of Rodion's life and career, we are confronted with the sobering realization that success in the modern world is no guarantor of happiness, a bitter truth that cuts through the veneer of societal expectations and lays bare the fragile facade of human ambition. For Rodion, the trappings of success had proven to be but fleeting illusions, mere mirages on the desolate landscape of his existence. In their absence, he was forced to confront the harsh reality that true fulfillment could not be found in the pursuit of external accolades, but in the cultivation of inner peace and harmony, a realization that would ultimately lead him down a path of self-discovery and redemption. Amidst the shadows of a world haunted by the echoes of forgotten dreams. Amidst the desolation that enveloped the forsaken village, the hunter, his eyes keen for the elusive tale that would captivate the hearts of his readers, discovered an unexpected treasure hidden amidst the wreckage of time, the beauty of forgotten narratives etched into the crumbling facades of abandoned homes. Each decrepit structure became a canvas upon which the stories of bygone eras were painted in hues of melancholy and mystery, weaving a tapestry of intrigue that beckoned the curious soul to unravel its enigmatic secrets. With every step through the labyrinthine streets of the forgotten settlement, the hunter unearthed fragments of forgotten lives and whispered legends, each one a testament to the enduring resilience of the human spirit in the face of inexorable decay. In the heart of Rodion, amidst the tumultuous sea of chaos that engulfed the desolate hamlet, flickered a beacon of hope, a fervent yearning for the tranquil shores of family and stability. Despite the pervasive disorder and abandonment that characterized the settlement, he clung to the vision of a life adorned with the simple joys of kinship, a testament to his unwavering commitment to carve meaning from the jagged contours of his existence. Yet beneath the facade of his steadfast resolve lay the tangled web of inner conflict, a relentless tug-of-war between the allure of domestic bliss and the stark realities of his surroundings. In the juxtaposition of his aspirations against the harsh backdrop of reality, Rodion's journey unfolded as a poignant exploration of the human spirit's enduring quest for purpose and belonging in a world veiled in shadows of uncertainty and despair. As Rodion wandered through the eerie silence of the abandoned village, each dilapidated structure whispered secrets of a bygone era, casting a haunting spell that transported him back in time. Every crumbling facade, every weathered cobblestone seemed to bear the weight of memories long forgotten, invoking a sense of nostalgia tinged with melancholy. With each step, Rodion delved deeper into the labyrinth of his own history, where the echoes of laughter and the shadows of past joys danced amidst the ruins. Each abandoned building became a portal to a different chapter of his life, a poignant reminder of the transient nature of existence and the indelible imprint left by time's relentless passage. In the hands of Kostya, the camera became a weapon wielded against the shroud of ignorance, a tool for unearthing the raw and unsettling truths that lay concealed within the decaying facade of the village. With a keen eye for the macabre and the mysterious, he sought to capture the most haunting and captivating moments of the settlement, each photograph a stark testament to the desolation and decay that pervaded its every corner. Through his lens, Kostya endeavored to peel back the layers of illusion and reveal the stark reality of the village's plight, invoking a visceral reaction from viewers who bore witness to the unsettling beauty of its ruinous visage. In the artistry of his compositions and the stark honesty of his images, Kostya sought not only to document the village's decline, but also to provoke introspection and empathy, challenging observers to confront the unsettling truths that lurked beneath the surface of their own perceptions. The sudden appearance of a military presence sent shivers down Rodion's spine, a stark reminder of the ominous specter of danger lurking in the shadows. It was as if the very air had grown heavy with foreboding, casting a pall of uncertainty over the once familiar landscape. For Rodion, it was a sobering realization that the tranquil facade of the village belied a far more complex and sinister reality than he had ever dared to imagine. The arrival of the military force shattered any illusion of safety and exposed the fragility of his assumptions about the peaceful isolation of the community. As Rodion grappled with the unsettling implications of this newfound threat, a sense of unease crept over him like a creeping fog, obscuring the boundaries between reality and nightmare. In the eerie silence that followed, every shadow seemed to harbor unseen dangers, and every whispered breeze carried the faint echo of impending doom. With each passing moment, the once idyllic surroundings transformed into a labyrinth of uncertainty, where the line between friend and foe blurred and the true nature of the danger lurking in the shadows remained shrouded in mystery. Rodion's mind wandered back to his childhood, a time when the abandoned buildings served as the playgrounds of imagination. But now, those once familiar structures stood as monuments to decay, their crumbling facades a testament to the relentless passage of time and neglect. Where once echoed the laughter of children, now only the eerie silence of abandonment prevailed. The buildings, once vibrant with life, now lay desolate and forsaken. The walls, adorned with cracks like jagged scars, seemed to bear witness to the gradual erosion of memories and dreams. Stalactites hung ominously from ceilings like twisted fingers, reaching out to grasp at the fleeting remnants of a bygone era. Every corner harbored secrets untold, every shadow whispered tales of forgotten games and lost innocence. As Rodion navigated the maze of decaying structures, he couldn't shake the feeling of being watched, as if the ghosts of his past were lurking in the shadows, waiting to reclaim what was once theirs. The air was thick with the scent of decay, a poignant reminder of the inevitable cycle of life and death that enveloped the village in its icy embrace. In that moment, amidst the ruins of his childhood, Rodion couldn't help but feel a pang of sorrow for what had been lost. The games, the laughter, the innocence, all swallowed up by the relentless march of time, leaving behind only the haunting echoes of a world long forgotten. Within the confines of the abandoned buildings, strange doorways of varying sizes were unearthed, each one a portal to the unknown. Some were no larger than the openings of childhood forts, barely big enough for a child to squeeze through, while others loomed large like gaping maws, emitting an eerie chill or searing heat. As Rodion ventured deeper into the heart of the derelict structures, he found himself drawn to these enigmatic passages, each one whispering tantalizing secrets of what lay beyond. The smaller openings, reminiscent of secret hideaways from his youth, beckoned him with promises of adventure and discovery, while the larger apertures exuded an aura of foreboding, as if warning him of the perils that awaited on the other side. With every step he took, the air grew heavier, laden with the scent of damp earth and decay. Shadows danced along the walls, their sinuous forms casting eerie silhouettes that seemed to come alive in the flickering light. Rodion's heart raced with a mixture of fear and excitement, his senses heightened as he delved deeper into the labyrinthine depths of the abandoned buildings. Each doorway he passed held the promise of answers, yet also the threat of danger. Behind them lay the mysteries of the past, waiting to be unraveled, but also the possibility of encountering something beyond comprehension, something that defied logic and reason. As Rodion stood on the threshold of yet another passage, he couldn't help but wonder what secrets lay concealed within its depths. With a hesitant step forward, he crossed the threshold, plunging into the unknown with a mixture of trepidation and curiosity, ready to confront whatever lay on the other side. Rodion and Kostya found themselves immersed in an unsettling world of unexplained phenomena as they ventured deeper into the abandoned apartments. Strange lights flickered in the darkness, casting eerie shadows that seemed to dance and twist with a life of their own. The air hummed with an otherworldly energy, sending shivers down their spines as they pressed on, their hearts pounding in their chests. As they explored further, they encountered inexplicable sounds echoing through the empty corridors, reminiscent of the whirring of a giant machine or the hum of a deep freeze. The noises reverberated off the walls, creating an unsettling cacophony that seemed to emanate from the very fabric of the building itself. With each passing moment, the sense of unease grew, gnawing at their nerves and clouding their thoughts with fear and uncertainty. They exchanged nervous glances, their minds racing with questions and doubts, but they pressed on, driven by a mixture of curiosity and dread. Suddenly, they stumbled upon a room bathed in an otherworldly glow, the air thick with an icy chill that seemed to seep into their bones. Strange symbols adorned the walls, their intricate patterns pulsating with an ethereal light that sent shivers down their spines. As they stood transfixed by the surreal sight before them, a sense of primal fear washed over them, sending a chill down their spines. They knew they had stumbled upon something beyond their comprehension, something that defied explanation and reason. With a trembling hand, Rodion reached out to touch one of the symbols, his fingers brushing against the cold stone surface. In that moment, a powerful surge of energy coursed through him, filling him with a sense of dread and foreboding. As they hurriedly fled the room, the echoes of their footsteps reverberating through the empty corridors, they knew they had uncovered only a fraction of the mysteries hidden within the abandoned buildings. And as they emerged into the cool night air, they couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched, that something malevolent lurked in the shadows, waiting to strike. As the heroes delved deeper into the abandoned confines, a palpable sense of mystery and undefined danger enveloped them, weaving its tendrils through the very air they breathed. Each step forward felt like a plunge into the unknown, where shadows danced in sinister patterns, and the echoes of their footfalls whispered of forgotten secrets. The darkness seemed to thicken around them, swallowing the feeble beams of their flashlights and casting doubt upon the solidity of their surroundings. What once appeared as mere dilapidated structures now took on a sinister aura, their crumbling facades concealing untold horrors lurking just beyond the veil of perception. Every creak of a floorboard, every rustle of a curtain, sent shivers cascading down their spines, igniting primal instincts that screamed of imminent danger. Yet, despite their growing apprehension, a morbid curiosity drove them forward, urging them to uncover the mysteries that lay hidden in the heart of the forsaken abode. The very air seemed to pulse with an eerie energy, charged with the weight of centuries-old secrets and forgotten sins. It whispered of forgotten tragedies and whispered curses, hinting at the malevolent forces that lurked in the shadows, waiting to ensnare the unwary in their tangled web of darkness. With each passing moment, the sensation of being watched grew more acute, as though unseen eyes followed their every move, tracking their progress through the labyrinthine passages with cold, unerring precision. It was as if the very walls themselves were alive, conspiring to ensnare them in a web of deceit and treachery. Yet for all the dread that gripped their hearts, there was an undeniable allure to the darkness that beckoned them ever deeper into its embrace. It was a siren song, haunting and seductive, promising untold riches to those brave enough to unravel its mysteries. And so, with bated breath and trembling hands, they pressed on into the heart of darkness, knowing full well that they might never return from the abyss that awaited them. For in the world of shadows and whispers, the line between reality and nightmare blurred into oblivion, leaving only the echo of their footsteps to mark their passage through the endless expanse of the unknown. Undeterred by the unsettling phenomena they encountered, Rodion and Kostia pressed on with their exploration, driven by an insatiable curiosity to unravel the mysteries lurking within the forsaken buildings. With each step, they delved deeper into the heart of darkness, their resolve steeling against the encroaching shadows that threatened to engulf them. Their flashlights cut through the oppressive gloom like beacons of hope, illuminating the forgotten relics of a bygone era that lay scattered in their path. Each room they entered held its own secrets, its own untold stories waiting to be unearthed from the depths of time. But as they ventured further into the labyrinthine corridors, the air grew heavier, pregnant with the weight of centuries-old despair. Strange whispers echoed through the darkness, their words unintelligible yet laden with a sense of foreboding that sent shivers down their spines. Yet for all the dangers that lurked in the shadows, there was an undeniable thrill to their quest, a rush of adrenaline that fueled their determination to uncover the truth. They were explorers in a world of forgotten dreams and abandoned hopes, daring to tread where others feared to roam. But with each passing moment, the line between reality and nightmare blurred, leaving them teetering on the edge of madness. Strange visions danced at the corners of their vision, fleeting glimpses of horrors too terrible to comprehend. And then, without warning, they stumbled upon a revelation that would change everything. Hidden beneath layers of dust and decay, they uncovered a secret that had long been buried, a truth so shocking that it threatened to tear apart the very fabric of their reality. But even as the world around them crumbled, they stood firm, their resolve unbroken in the face of unspeakable horrors. For they knew that some secrets were meant to be revealed, no matter the cost. And so, with hearts heavy and hands trembling, they forged ahead into the darkness, guided by a flicker of hope in a world consumed by despair. For in the end, it was not the fear of the unknown that drove them forward, but the promise of redemption in the face of overwhelming darkness. Within the dilapidated confines of the abandoned buildings, Rodion and Kostia found themselves ensnared by inexplicable phenomena, shrouded in an eerie mystique that defied rational explanation. As they ventured deeper into the murky recesses of the forsaken structures, they were enveloped by an atmosphere thick with the palpable sense of the uncanny. Strange lights flickered in the darkness, casting dancing shadows that seemed to taunt and tease, luring the unwary into their hypnotic embrace. The air hummed with an otherworldly energy, vibrating with an intensity that set their nerves on edge and sent shivers cascading down their spines. But it was the unsettling sounds that truly unsettled them, echoing through the corridors like whispers from beyond the veil of reality. Ghostly murmurs drifted on the stagnant air, their words indecipherable yet laden with a weight of meaning that eluded comprehension. With each passing moment, the boundary between the natural and the supernatural blurred, leaving Rodion and Kostia adrift in a sea of uncertainty and doubt. Their senses strained against the oppressive tide of strangeness, grappling with the inexplicable forces that held sway over their surroundings. Yet, despite their mounting trepidation, they pressed on, driven by an insatiable curiosity to uncover the truth hidden within the shadows. For even as fear coiled like a serpent in their hearts, so too did the thrill of the unknown beckon them ever deeper into the heart of darkness. But as they delved deeper into the enigmatic depths of the abandoned buildings, they realized that some mysteries were not meant to be unraveled. For in the shadows lurked secrets too terrible to behold, waiting to ensnare the unwary in their web of deceit and despair. And so, with hearts heavy and minds reeling, they retreated from the haunted confines of the forsaken structures, haunted by the spectral echoes of their encounter. For they knew that in the realm of the supernatural, there were no answers, only questions that would haunt them for eternity. Rodion and Kostya found themselves grappling with a perplexing conundrum as they compared their observations to the images captured on their smartphones. The eerie scenes they encountered within the abandoned buildings defied simple explanation, leaving them perplexed and unnerved. In their quest for understanding, they sought to reconcile the stark disparity between the tangible world around them and the surreal visions captured by their devices. Yet try as they might, they could find no rational explanation for the inexplicable phenomena that unfolded before their eyes. The images on their screens served only to deepen the mystery, offering tantalizing glimpses into a realm where reality and illusion intertwined in a dizzying dance of light and shadow. Each photograph seemed to capture a fleeting moment of otherworldly beauty, yet beneath the surface lurked a darkness that defied comprehension. As they studied the images, a sense of unease settled over them, casting doubt upon the very nature of their perceptions. Were they witnessing a genuine glimpse into the unknown, or were they merely victims of an elaborate hoax, orchestrated by forces beyond their understanding? Try as they might to dismiss their experiences as mere trickery of the senses or elaborate art projects, the unsettling truth remained: the world within the abandoned buildings defied categorization, existing on the blurry boundary between reality and illusion. And so, with each passing moment, Rodion and Kostya found themselves drawn deeper into the enigma, their grasp on reality slipping ever further away. For in a world where truth and falsehood mingled like shadows in the night, the line between sanity and madness blurred, leaving them adrift in a sea of uncertainty and doubt. The environment enveloped them in a shroud of darkness and foreboding, casting long shadows that seemed to stretch endlessly into the night. A palpable sense of unease hung heavy in the air, suffusing every corner of the desolate settlement with an unsettling aura of menace. Here, amidst the decaying remnants of civilization, the usual signs of life were conspicuously absent. No chirping of crickets broke the silence, no rustling of leaves disturbed the stillness. Instead, the only sounds that echoed through the eerie stillness were the mournful cries of strange birds, their haunting calls serving as a grim reminder of the desolation that pervaded the land. As Rodion and Kostya ventured deeper into the heart of the settlement, they encountered its motley inhabitants, a drunken vagrant huddled in the shadows, muttering incomprehensible words to himself, a solitary figure clad in military garb, his steely gaze fixed on some unseen threat lurking in the darkness. Each encounter sent shivers down their spines, for there was something distinctly unsettling about the denizens of this forsaken place. Their eyes held a glint of madness, their movements erratic and unpredictable. It was as though they were but ghostly apparitions, haunting the ruins of a world long forgotten. And yet, amidst the palpable sense of dread that hung over the settlement like a shroud, there was something else, something inexplicable yet undeniable. It was the feeling of being watched, of unseen eyes peering out from the darkness, tracking their every move with a malevolent intent. As they pressed onward, the darkness seemed to close in around them, pressing down upon their chests like a weighty hand. It was as though the very air itself had turned against them, choking off their breath and suffusing their minds with a sense of impending doom. And so, with each step they took, Rodion and Kostya found themselves descending further into the abyss, their hearts pounding in their chests as they braced themselves for whatever horrors awaited them in the darkness. For in this forsaken land, where the line between reality and nightmare blurred, no one could say for certain what lurked just beyond the edge of sight. The woman with the heavy bags and other inhabitants of the settlement seemed to dance around the subject whenever Rodion and Kostya pressed them for answers about the abandoned buildings. Their words were vague, their expressions guarded, as if they were afraid to speak openly about the secrets that lay hidden within the crumbling walls. "It's not safe in there," the woman muttered, her eyes darting nervously from side to side. "Best to stay away if you know what's good for you." Others echoed her sentiments, their voices trembling with fear as they warned of unseen dangers lurking in the shadows. They spoke of strange noises that echoed through the night, of eerie lights that flickered in the darkness, and of whispers that seemed to emanate from the very walls themselves. But for all their talk of danger, there was something in their eyes that betrayed a deeper truth and knowledge that went beyond mere superstition. It was as though they were keeping a terrible secret, one that they dared not speak aloud for fear of what might happen if the truth were revealed. And yet, despite their warnings, Rodion and Kostya could not shake the feeling that they were being lied to, that there was more to the story than met the eye. For in the twisted labyrinth of the settlement, where reality blurred with illusion, the truth was a fragile thing, easily obscured by the shadows that lurked in every corner. As the days passed, the characters found themselves increasingly ensnared in the enigmatic web woven by the abandoned buildings of the local settlement. What had once seemed like mere decrepit structures now exuded an aura of ominous foreboding, casting long shadows that seemed to reach out and grasp at the unwary. With each passing hour, the sense of unease grew palpable, settling like a heavy shroud over the shoulders of Rodion and his companions. Every creak of a floorboard, every whisper of the wind through broken windows, sent shivers racing down their spines, reminding them of the lurking presence that lurked just beyond their sight. Try as they might to rationalize their fears, to dismiss them as mere figments of an overactive imagination, the truth remained elusive, a tantalizing specter that danced just beyond their grasp. For in the heart of the settlement, where the veil between reality and nightmare grew thin, every shadow held a secret, every echo a warning of impending doom. And yet, for all the dangers that lurked in the darkness, there was a strange allure to the abandoned buildings, a magnetic pull that drew them ever closer, despite the rational voice of reason that urged them to flee. For in the heart of mystery, there lay the promise of discovery, the tantalizing prospect of uncovering truths that had long lain buried beneath the sands of time. But as they ventured deeper into the heart of the unknown, the characters could not shake the feeling that they were treading on treacherous ground, that with each step they took, they edged ever closer to the abyss, where the line between reality and nightmare blurred into oblivion. And in that dark and shadowy realm, where the secrets of the past lay entwined with the horrors of the present, they knew that only the brave or the foolish dared to tread. As Rodion and Kostya sifted through the photographs of the abandoned buildings, their eyes widened in disbelief at the unearthly scenes captured within the frames. Strange structures and staircases loomed in the images, twisting and contorting in ways that defied the laws of physics, casting eerie shadows that seemed to dance and sway of their own accord. Each photograph revealed a new layer of mystery, a fresh enigma that begged to be unraveled. What appeared as mere walls and floors to the naked eye transformed under the lens of the camera into fantastical realms, where reality melded with fantasy in a surreal dance of light and shadow. As they pored over the images, Rodion and Kostya found themselves drawn deeper into the web of intrigue, their curiosity piqued by the tantalizing glimpse of a world beyond their wildest imaginings. For in the heart of the abandoned houses lay secrets long forgotten, hidden beneath layers of dust and decay, waiting to be unearthed by those bold enough to seek them out. But with each discovery came a creeping sense of unease, a gnawing doubt that whispered of dangers unseen and perils untold. For as they delved deeper into the mysteries of the abandoned houses, Rodion and Kostya could not shake the feeling that they were trespassing on forbidden ground, venturing into realms best left undisturbed. And yet, despite the growing sense of trepidation, they pressed on, driven by a thirst for knowledge that burned bright within their hearts. For in the heart of mystery lay the promise of understanding, the tantalizing prospect of unraveling the secrets of the universe and unlocking the key to a truth long concealed. Rodion cautiously stepped into the infirmary, a sense of unease settling over him as he glanced around at the dimly lit room. The air was heavy with the scent of antiseptic, mingled with an underlying odor of decay that seemed to permeate the very walls. At the far end of the room stood Feldsher Vasily Ivanovich, a figure shrouded in shadow, his features obscured by the dim light. Known simply as the Japanese due to his mother's heritage, Vasily Ivanovich was an enigmatic figure, his origins and motives shrouded in mystery. Despite his outwardly affable demeanor, there was something unsettling about the way he moved, his movements jerky and disjointed, as if he were merely going through the motions of life. As Rodion approached, Vasily Ivanovich turned to face him, his eyes gleaming in the dim light. "Ah, Rodion," he said, his voice a low, gravelly rumble. "What brings you to my humble abode?" Rodion hesitated, unsure of how to broach the subject of the strange occurrences in the abandoned houses. But before he could speak, Vasily Ivanovich raised a hand, as if sensing his thoughts. "I know why you're here, Rodion," he said, his voice taking on a somber tone. "You seek answers to questions that lie beyond the realm of reason, in the dark recesses of the unknown." Rodion felt a chill run down his spine at Vasily Ivanovich's words, a sense of foreboding washing over him. "What do you know about the things happening in the abandoned houses?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Vasily Ivanovich's lips curled into a sardonic smile, his eyes glittering with an unsettling light. "More than you could possibly imagine," he replied cryptically. "But beware, Rodion, for the truth you seek may be more terrifying than you can comprehend." With that ominous warning, Vasily Ivanovich turned away, his form disappearing into the shadows of the infirmary. And as Rodion watched him go, he couldn't shake the feeling that he had just glimpsed something far more sinister than he had ever imagined lurking beneath the surface of reality. In the dimly lit infirmary, Feldsher Vasily Ivanovich leaned in close to Rodion, his voice barely above a whisper, as he began to weave a tale of local lore and superstition. "You see, Rodion," he began, his words carrying an eerie weight, "these abandoned houses hold secrets that few dare to speak of. According to the old tales passed down through generations, these houses are not truly empty. No, far from it. They are said to be inhabited by new tenants, beings who emerged from the crevices of the earth itself." Rodion listened intently, a shiver running down his spine as Vasily Ivanovich's words painted a vivid picture of a world beyond the veil of reality. "These newcomers," Vasily Ivanovich continued, his voice tinged with a mixture of fear and fascination, "are said to dwell alongside the locals, hidden from sight but ever present, their presence felt in the shadows that linger in the corners of the abandoned rooms." As Vasily Ivanovich spoke, Rodion felt a sense of unease settle over him, the hairs on the back of his neck standing on end as he imagined the otherworldly beings that supposedly lurked within the abandoned houses. "And what do the locals believe these beings want?" Rodion asked, his voice trembling slightly. Vasily Ivanovich's lips curled into a grim smile. "That, my dear Rodion, is the question that haunts us all," he replied cryptically. "Some say they seek solace, others say they seek something far more sinister. But one thing is certain, those who dare to venture into their domain do so at their own peril." With those ominous words, Vasily Ivanovich fell silent, leaving Rodion to ponder the dark mysteries that lurked within the abandoned houses and the chilling tales that surrounded them. And as he gazed into the shadows that danced along the walls, he couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to this story than met the eye. As Rodion ventured deeper into the heart of the village, he couldn't shake the feeling of unease that seemed to permeate the air like a dense fog. The locals, usually friendly and open, now cast wary glances in his direction, their lips pressed into tight lines of apprehension. Approaching one of the elders, Rodion inquired about the abandoned buildings that dotted the village landscape, hoping to unravel the mysteries that seemed to shroud them in secrecy. But instead of answers, he was met with cryptic warnings and evasive responses. "It's best you steer clear of those places," the elder cautioned, his voice low and tinged with a hint of fear. "There are things that happen there, things that defy explanation." Rodion pressed for more information, but the elder remained tight-lipped, his gaze darting nervously towards the looming shadows of the abandoned structures. Undeterred by the lack of cooperation, Rodion continued his investigation, determined to uncover the truth hidden beneath the veil of secrecy. But with each step he took, the sense of foreboding only grew stronger, as if the very walls of the village were whispering dark secrets that refused to be revealed. As night fell, and the village plunged into darkness, Rodion found himself alone in the eerie stillness, the only sound the distant howling of the wind. And as he gazed up at the looming silhouettes of the abandoned buildings, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was being watched by unseen eyes, and that the truth he sought lay hidden in the shadows, waiting to be discovered. Vasily Ivanovich, once a respected figure in the village, now cuts a haunting figure, his once sharp wit dulled by the numbing effects of alcohol. His eyes, once bright with life, now betray a vacant stare, lost in the depths of his own tortured mind. Rodion couldn't help but feel a pang of sympathy mixed with unease as he observed Vasily's erratic behavior and slurred speech. Approaching Vasily cautiously, Rodion found himself navigating a delicate dance, treading lightly around the edges of the man's fragile psyche. Vasily's ramblings veered from nonsensical to downright unsettling, his words weaving a tangled web of half-truths and fragmented memories. As Rodion listened, he couldn't shake the feeling that Vasily's tales held a grain of truth buried beneath layers of delusion and distortion. There was something about the haunted look in Vasily's eyes, a flicker of recognition that hinted at a deeper understanding of the darkness that lurked within the abandoned buildings. Despite his reservations, Rodion couldn't deny the allure of Vasily's stories, each one drawing him further into the labyrinth of the village's secrets. But as he delved deeper, he couldn't shake the feeling of unease that settled like a heavy fog over his mind, a nagging sense of danger that whispered of unseen threats lurking in the shadows. Haunted by nightmares and strange visions, Rodion finds himself tormented by the specters of the abandoned buildings that seem to loom over him, even in his waking hours. Each night brings fitful sleep and restless dreams, his mind plagued by images of twisted architecture and otherworldly forms. As he tosses and turns in his bed, Rodion's thoughts drift back to the photographs he had seen, each one a chilling reminder of the horrors that lay hidden within the walls of the village. The strange structures and bizarre shapes seemed to dance before his eyes, mocking him with their enigmatic presence. Unable to escape the grip of his own imagination, Rodion finds himself slipping further into the darkness with each passing night. The line between reality and illusion blurs, leaving him adrift in a sea of uncertainty and fear. And as the sun sets on another sleepless night, Rodion can't help but wonder if the nightmares will ever end, or if he is doomed to wander the twisted corridors of his own mind for eternity. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows over the abandoned village, a sense of unease settled over Rodion. Kostya, his steadfast companion in this journey of mystery and darkness, had ventured into the heart of the forsaken buildings hours ago, his camera in hand, eager to capture the secrets hidden within their decaying walls. But as the minutes turned to hours and Kostya failed to return, a creeping dread began to claw its way into Rodion's mind. He paced the dusty floor of their makeshift shelter, his thoughts consumed by visions of his friend lost amidst the labyrinthine corridors of the haunted buildings. With each passing moment, the weight of uncertainty grew heavier upon Rodion's shoulders until it became almost unbearable. Was Kostya simply lost in the maze-like structures, or had something more sinister befallen him in the darkness? Driven by a mixture of fear and determination, Rodion set out into the night, his footsteps echoing off the crumbling facades of the derelict buildings. The air hung heavy with the scent of decay, and an oppressive silence enveloped the village like a suffocating shroud. Guided by the faint glow of his flashlight, Rodion made his way towards the abandoned house where he had last seen Kostya disappear into the shadows. The structure loomed before him, its windows gaping like hollow eyes, and he felt a chill run down his spine at the sight. But despite the ominous aura that surrounded the building, Rodion pressed forward, his resolve stealing with each step. He knew that answers awaited him within those decaying walls, and he was determined to uncover the truth, no matter the cost. As he crossed the threshold into the darkness, Rodion braced himself for whatever horrors lay in wait, knowing that the secrets he sought were buried deep within the heart of the forsaken structure. And with each passing moment, the line between reality and nightmare blurred, until he could no longer be certain whether he was the hunter or the hunted in this deadly game of cat and mouse. In the quiet solitude of the early morning hours, Rodion's mind drifted back to a fateful surgery he had performed on a young woman, her desire for a nose alteration leading to a heart-wrenching outcome. The memories of that tragic event lingered like shadows in the recesses of his mind, haunting him with doubts and inner turmoil. As the first light of dawn painted the sky in hues of gold and pink, Rodion found himself enveloped in a strange, mystical energy that seemed to permeate the very air around him. The morning mist hung heavy in the air, casting an ethereal glow over the abandoned village, and he couldn't shake the feeling of being watched by unseen eyes. Recalling the tales spun by Vasily Ivanovich, with their whispered warnings of ancient legends and mysterious occurrences that plagued the village, Rodion felt a shiver run down his spine. The line between reality and myth blurred in the soft light of dawn, and he couldn't help but wonder if there was more to the eerie stillness of the morning than met the eye. Haunted by the echoes of the past and the weight of his own guilt, Rodion ventured forth into the mist-shrouded streets, his footsteps echoing off the crumbling facades of the abandoned buildings. Each step forward brought him closer to the truth, but also deeper into the heart of darkness that lurked within the village's forgotten corners. Rodion finds himself in utter shock as he discovers that the abandoned places he had recently explored have suddenly vanished, as if they never existed at all. The once eerie and desolate structures, with their twisted architecture and ominous shadows, now appear as nothing more than figments of his imagination. This revelation fills him with a profound sense of bewilderment and unease, questioning the very fabric of reality itself. Continuing his search for his friend Kostya, Rodion ventures deeper into the labyrinthine corridors of the abandoned building, his heart pounding with dread and apprehension. Suddenly, he comes across a horrifying sight in the dimly lit stairwell: a crushed mirror camera, its lens shattered and body mangled, as if it had been crushed by an immense force. The gruesome discovery sends a chill down Rodion's spine, his mind reeling with the implications of such a macabre scene. What could have caused such devastation? And where is Kostya? Fear and despair grip him tightly as he realizes that the answers he seeks may lie hidden in the dark and twisted depths of the forsaken village. As Rodion delves deeper into his investigation, he encounters inexplicable phenomena that defy rational explanation. The disappearance of abandoned houses and the eerie alterations in their architecture leave him feeling unsettled and apprehensive. Each new discovery only serves to heighten his fear and unease, especially as he stumbles upon dark and perilous territories concealed within the village. The once familiar surroundings now seem distorted and menacing, shrouded in an oppressive atmosphere of uncertainty and dread. Every shadow hides a potential threat, and every creaking floorboard sends shivers down his spine. Yet, driven by a relentless determination to uncover the truth, Rodion presses on, his resolve tested with each step he takes into the unknown depths of the forsaken settlement. Rodion's worst fears are realized when he discovers the shattered mirror camera, a grim reminder of his patient's tragic demise. As the pieces of the puzzle start to fall into place, a wave of terror, unlike anything he's ever experienced, washes over him, plunging him into a state of panic-stricken horror. The once coherent fabric of reality begins to unravel before his eyes, revealing the sinister truth lurking beneath the surface. Each shard of broken glass reflects not only the shattered remnants of the mirror, but also the fragments of Rodion's own shattered psyche. In this moment of harrowing realization, he is confronted with the chilling prospect that the darkness he seeks to uncover may lie closer to home than he ever dared to imagine. With his heart pounding and his mind reeling, Rodion grapples with the terrifying implications of his discovery, haunted by the specter of his patient's tragic fate and the ominous shadow it casts over his own existence. As he teeters on the brink of madness, he is consumed by a sense of overwhelming dread, knowing that the horrors he faces are far beyond anything he ever thought possible. Rodion finds himself at the center of a maelstrom of accusations, facing charges of medical malpractice following the tragic death of his patient. His once promising career crumbles before his eyes, his hard-earned reputation tarnished beyond repair. The courtroom becomes a battleground where he must fight not only for his innocence but also for his very identity. As the weight of the accusations bears down upon him, Rodion is consumed by a tumult of conflicting emotions. Anguish and despair grip his heart as he grapples with the devastating loss of his career and the shattering of his dreams. Every moment spent in the courtroom feels like an eternity, each word uttered against him a dagger to his soul. Haunted by the specter of his patient's untimely demise, Rodion is tormented by doubts and regrets that gnaw at his conscience. The once confident surgeon is now a broken man, his spirit crushed beneath the weight of guilt and shame. He is forced to confront the harsh reality that his life's work has been called into question, his integrity questioned, and his future thrown into jeopardy. Amidst the chaos of the courtroom, Rodion must find the strength to defend himself against the accusations that threaten to destroy him. But as the trial unfolds, he realizes that the greatest battle he faces is not in the courtroom but within himself. For in the crucible of adversity, he must confront his own demons and find redemption in the face of overwhelming odds. The death of his patient and the subsequent accusations of medical malpractice plunge Rodion into a profound crisis, sending shockwaves through every aspect of his life. Once a respected and accomplished surgeon, he now finds himself teetering on the brink of ruin, his career and social standing shattered beyond recognition. Haunted by the memory of the tragedy that unfolded under his care, Rodion is consumed by guilt and self-doubt, grappling with the crushing weight of responsibility for the loss of life. The once bright future he envisioned now lies in ruins, overshadowed by the specter of his alleged negligence. As news of the scandal spreads like wildfire, Rodion's professional reputation is tarnished, and his once thriving practice crumbles into dust. Colleagues turn their backs, patients recoil in horror, and the community he once served with pride now views him with suspicion and disdain. Caught in a downward spiral of despair and isolation, Rodion struggles to make sense of the chaos that has engulfed his life. Every day is a battle against the relentless onslaught of accusations and recriminations, each moment a painful reminder of his fall from grace. In the depths of his despair, Rodion grapples with profound questions of identity and purpose, grappling with the harsh reality that the life he once knew is gone forever. Yet, even as he confronts the darkest depths of his soul, he clings to a flicker of hope that someday, somehow, he may find redemption amidst the ruins of his shattered existence. Rodion and his wife Natasha are thrust into a new realm of difficulties following an attack by one of Rodion's former patients. This harrowing incident unleashes a cascade of repercussions, inflicting heavy tolls on Natasha and plunging their marital bond into a profound crisis. Once a sanctuary of love and support, their home becomes a battleground of fear and uncertainty. Natasha, once Rodion's steadfast partner, now finds herself grappling with a profound sense of vulnerability and insecurity. The trauma of the attack leaves her emotionally scarred, haunted by nightmares that refuse to fade with the light of day. As Rodion's struggles intensify and his focus is consumed by the mounting crises in his professional and personal life, he becomes increasingly distant from Natasha. Communication breaks down, replaced by a suffocating silence punctuated by the echoes of unspoken fears and unaddressed grievances. The once solid foundation of their marriage begins to crumble under the weight of adversity, leaving them adrift in a sea of uncertainty and doubt. Resentment festers, fueled by a sense of betrayal and abandonment, as they struggle to navigate the turbulent waters of their shattered relationship. Caught in a downward spiral of despair and isolation, Natasha yearns for the return of the man she once knew, the loving husband who promised to stand by her side through thick and thin. Yet, as each day passes and the chasm between them widens, she finds herself grappling with the painful realization that their bond may be irreparably broken. As they stand on the precipice of collapse, Rodion and Natasha must confront the harsh reality that the challenges they face may be greater than their love can withstand. In the darkness of their shared anguish, they search for a glimmer of hope, clinging to the belief that, somehow, they may find a way to heal the wounds that threaten to tear them apart. Rodion finds himself engulfed in a maelstrom of psychological collapse, grappling with overwhelming feelings of guilt, despair, and powerlessness in the face of such tragic events. Once a pillar of strength and resilience, Rodion now finds himself teetering on the brink of emotional abyss. The weight of his perceived failures presses down upon him like a suffocating blanket, rendering him immobile, paralyzed by the haunting specter of what could have been. Every waking moment is a relentless assault on his psyche, as he is tormented by relentless self-doubt and agonizing regret. The echoes of his past mistakes reverberate through the corridors of his mind, taunting him with visions of the lives he could not save and the futures he inadvertently shattered. Haunted by the ghosts of his past, Rodion is consumed by a gnawing sense of inadequacy as he grapples with the cruel reality of his own limitations. The once confident surgeon now finds himself adrift in a sea of uncertainty, his faith in his own abilities shattered by the merciless hand of fate. As the darkness closes in around him, Rodion struggles to find a glimmer of hope amidst the suffocating despair. Yet try as he might, the shadows of his own guilt refuse to loosen their grip, dragging him deeper into the abyss with each passing day. Alone and adrift in a world that no longer makes sense, Rodion clings to the fragile threads of his sanity, praying for deliverance from the torment that threatens to consume him whole. But in the depths of his despair, he knows that redemption may be nothing more than a fleeting illusion, forever out of reach in the darkness that now surrounds him. In Rodian's hands rests a solitary battle against the outside world, which gradually rejects him due to the negative events associated with him. He faces alienation and isolation, drifting further from the shores of human connection into the murky depths of solitude. Once embraced by society as a respected member, Rodian now finds himself cast out into the cold embrace of isolation. The faces that once greeted him with warmth now turn away in disdain, their eyes filled with suspicion and fear. Like a lone ship adrift in a stormy sea, he navigates the treacherous waters of rejection, buffeted by the winds of societal scorn. With each passing day, the walls around him seem to close in, suffocating him with their suffocating embrace. The once familiar streets now feel foreign and hostile, their every corner a reminder of his newfound status as an outcast. Even the comforting embrace of his own home offers no solace, as the shadows that lurk within whisper cruel reminders of his own inadequacy. Alienated from those he once called friends, Rodian finds himself adrift in a sea of loneliness, his only companions the ghosts of his past mistakes. Their accusing whispers echo through the empty halls of his mind, taunting him with reminders of his own fallibility and failure. In the darkness of his isolation, Rodian grapples with the crushing weight of his own solitude, longing for the human connection he once took for granted. But as the days turn into weeks, and the weeks into months, he realizes that he is truly alone in his suffering, condemned to wander the desolate landscape of his own making. Rodian plunges into deep depression and alcohol dependency, having lost all hope of restoring his life and relationships. This leads to his self-destruction and further deepening of the crisis, spiraling him into the abyss of despair. Once a beacon of hope in his own life, Rodian now finds himself adrift in a sea of darkness, his spirit battered and broken by the relentless waves of despair. The spark of optimism that once burned brightly within him has been extinguished, leaving only the smoldering embers of hopelessness in its wake. Haunted by the specter of his own failures, Rodian seeks solace in the bottom of a bottle, drowning his sorrows in a sea of alcohol. Each drink offers temporary respite from the pain that gnaws at his soul, but it is a fleeting reprieve, quickly swallowed by the tidal wave of despair that threatens to consume him. Day by day, he descends deeper into the abyss of his own despair, his once vibrant spirit crushed beneath the weight of his own self-loathing. His days blur together in a haze of numbness and despair, each one a painful reminder of the life he once knew and the man he used to be. As his world crumbles around him, Rodian sees no way out, no light at the end of the tunnel. He is trapped in a cycle of self-destruction, unable to break free from the chains of his own making. In the darkness of his despair, he finds solace only in the oblivion of alcohol, his only companion in the long, lonely nights of his despair. In the dimly lit confines of the abandoned hallway, Rodian's flashlight beam danced across the decaying walls, casting eerie shadows that seemed to flicker and dance in the darkness. With each step he took, the air grew heavier, thick with the oppressive weight of foreboding. As he turned a corner, his heart skipped a beat at the sight before him. There, protruding grotesquely from a gaping hole in the crumbling wall, was a sight that sent a shiver down his spine, a human head, its lifeless eyes staring blankly into the void, its mouth frozen in a silent scream of agony. For a moment, Rodian stood frozen in shock and disbelief, unable to tear his gaze away from the macabre spectacle before him. The head seemed to mock him, its hollow eyes boring into his soul with an intensity that sent chills racing down his spine. A wave of nausea washed over him as the full horror of the scene sank in. The head was a grim reminder of the darkness that lurked within these decaying walls, a silent witness to the unspeakable horrors that had unfolded in this forsaken place. With trembling hands, Rodian reached for his phone, his fingers fumbling with the buttons as he struggled to call for help. But even as he dialed the number, he knew that no one would come to his rescue, that he was alone in the heart of this nightmare. As he waited for the call to connect, the walls seemed to close in around him, suffocating him with their oppressive presence. In that moment, he realized that he was not just a witness to the horrors of this place, he was a part of them, trapped in a nightmare from which there was no escape. As Rodion processed the horrifying sight before him, a primal fear gripped his very being, twisting his perception of reality like a malevolent force intent on breaking his mind. The walls of the decaying hallway seemed to close in, suffocating him with their oppressive presence, while shadows danced in the corners of his vision, morphing into grotesque shapes that taunted him with their sinister whispers. His heart pounded in his chest, each beat echoing loudly in his ears, as if heralding the approach of some unseen terror. His hands trembled uncontrollably, his fingers feeling numb and unresponsive as he struggled to make sense of the nightmare unfolding before him. Every fiber of his being screamed at him to flee, to escape the suffocating grip of this hellish place, but something held him rooted to the spot, an invisible force that seemed to feed on his terror and despair. As he stared into the lifeless eyes of the severed head, he felt a cold dread creeping over him, chilling him to the bone. His mind reeled, overwhelmed by a flood of senseless images and memories that threatened to drown him in their madness. In that moment, Rodion realized that he was no longer in control, that he was at the mercy of forces beyond his comprehension. His perception of reality shattered like glass, leaving him adrift in a nightmarish realm where the line between truth and illusion blurred into nothingness. And as the darkness closed in around him, he knew with a sickening certainty that he had entered a place from which there could be no escape, a place where nightmares became reality and terror reigned supreme. In the grip of utter horror, Rodion desperately tries to flee from the ghastly sight before him, but his attempts are thwarted at every turn. As he turns to escape, he is met with new nightmares lurking in the shadows, a procession of ghostly figures, their pallid faces twisted into expressions of torment, their hollow eyes boring into his soul with icy stares that chill him to the core. Every step he takes feels like wading through thick molasses, his movements sluggish and uncoordinated, as if the very air around him has turned to treacle. His heart hammers in his chest, each beat a thunderous drumming that echoes through the desolate corridors, heralding his impending doom. With each passing moment, the sense of helplessness that grips him tightens its suffocating hold, squeezing the breath from his lungs and sending tendrils of icy fear snaking through his veins. The walls seem to close in around him, pressing in on all sides with an oppressive weight that threatens to crush him beneath its unbearable burden. And as he frantically searches for an escape route, his mind reels with the realization that he is trapped in a nightmare from which there is no waking. The specters that haunt him mock his feeble attempts to break free, their twisted forms dancing on the edges of his vision, taunting him with their malevolent laughter. In that moment of abject terror, Rodion knows that he is utterly alone, abandoned to the mercy of forces beyond his understanding. And as he stares into the abyss of his own despair, he can only pray for a miracle, a flicker of hope in the darkness that threatens to consume him whole. In the throes of his crisis and mental unraveling, Rodion's grip on reality slips like sand through his fingers. He finds himself ensnared in a labyrinth of hallucinations, where the boundaries between the tangible and the intangible blur into an indistinct haze of confusion and dread. Every shadow morphs into a lurking specter. Every creak of the decaying floorboards becomes the sinister whisper of unseen horrors. His mind becomes a tangled web of nonsensical thoughts and irrational fears, each more terrifying than the last, yet utterly devoid of any semblance of logic or reason. The world around him twists and warps, taking on grotesque and distorted forms that defy comprehension. Familiar landmarks become unrecognizable, warped by his fractured perception into grotesque caricatures of their former selves. As he navigates this nightmarish landscape, Rodion is haunted by the relentless onslaught of his own mind, tormented by visions that seem to spring from the darkest recesses of his subconscious. Faces leer at him from the shadows, their features twisted into grotesque masks of malice and despair. Voices whisper in his ear, their words a cacophony of disjointed fragments that offer no solace or respite from the relentless onslaught of his own tortured psyche. In the grip of this waking nightmare, Rodion struggles to cling to the last shreds of his sanity, his thoughts spiraling ever deeper into the abyss of his own madness. The line between reality and illusion blurs until it becomes all but indistinguishable, leaving him adrift in a sea of uncertainty and terror. The encounter with the seemingly benign grandmother, juxtaposed against the horrifying events unfolding in the abandoned stairwell, highlights the stark dissonance between the mundane and the chilling reality engulfing Rodion. As he navigates the labyrinthine corridors of his own unraveling mind, the sight of the grandmother offers a brief respite, a fleeting illusion of normalcy in a world spiraling into chaos. Yet even in her presence, there lingers an eerie sense of unease, as if the fabric of reality itself has been rent asunder, revealing glimpses of a darker, more sinister truth lurking just beneath the surface. Her gentle smile and weathered features belie the horrors that lurk in the shadows, casting a pall of foreboding over their interaction. Each word she utters feels like a veiled warning, a cryptic message from forces beyond comprehension, hinting at the true nature of the nightmare that has enveloped Rodion's world. As he grapples with the incongruity of her presence amidst the unfolding horror, Rodion is forced to confront the unsettling possibility that the boundaries between the ordinary and the macabre have blurred beyond recognition. In the face of such existential terror, even the most innocuous encounters take on a sinister hue, casting doubt upon the very fabric of reality itself. Rodion's psychological realization hits him like a cold wave as he finds himself standing within Tamara's store, a place steeped in memories both comforting and unsettling. The familiarity of the surroundings juxtaposed against the eerie atmosphere of the abandoned settlement sends a shiver down his spine, stirring up a whirlwind of conflicting emotions within him. On one hand, there's a primal urge to flee, to escape the clutches of the desolate town and the horrors it holds. The rational part of his mind screams at him to leave, to run as far and as fast as he can from the encroaching darkness that threatens to consume him whole. Yet, despite the overwhelming sense of dread, there's a strange pull, an inexplicable longing that tugs at his heartstrings, drawing him back to the land of his birth. It's as if the very soil beneath his feet exerts a magnetic force, binding him to the place where his roots lie buried deep. Memories flood his mind, both sweet and bitter, weaving a tapestry of nostalgia and regret. The sights and sounds of his childhood come rushing back, mingling with the grim reality of the present, blurring the lines between past and present, dreams and nightmares. Caught between the desire for escape and the pull of home, Rodion finds himself at a crossroads, torn between two worlds that seem irreconcilably opposed. With each passing moment, the tension mounts, threatening to tear him apart from the inside out. For in this haunted town, the boundaries between reality and illusion blur, leaving him stranded in a liminal space where the past haunts the present and the future hangs in the balance. As Rodion cautiously steps into Tamara's store, he's immediately struck by the disarray that greets him. Cans litter the floor, their contents spilled and mingling with the dust of neglect. The once neatly stacked shelves now stand askew, as if disturbed by some unseen force. Eerie echoes reverberate through the dimly lit space, sending a shiver down his spine. His heart racing, Rodion moves further into the store, his eyes darting nervously from shadow to shadow. And then, there she is, Tamara, or so he thinks at first glance. But as his gaze lingers on her figure, horror twists his gut into knots. Tamara's form is distorted, her once familiar features contorted into something grotesque and monstrous. A long, sinuous neck extends from her shoulders, snake-like in its appearance, bending and twisting unnaturally. Her eyes, once warm and welcoming, now gleam with a cold, predatory gleam. Frozen in terror, Rodion watches as the creature that was once Tamara moves with a sinuous grace, its movements both alien and menacing. A primal instinct screams at him to flee, to escape the clutches of this nightmare-made flesh. With a strangled cry, Rodion turns and bolts for the door, his heart pounding in his chest like a drumbeat of terror. Behind him, he can hear the creature's unearthly hiss, its long neck snaking out in pursuit. As he bursts out into the cool night air, Rodion stumbles and falls, gasping for breath. His mind reels with the horror of what he's just witnessed, knowing that in the darkness behind him, something unspeakable lurks, waiting to strike. In a blind panic, Rodion flees from the store, his heart hammering in his chest like a drumbeat of terror. The image of the monstrous Tamara haunts his every step, her twisted form etched into his mind like a nightmare he can't shake. Desperation fuels his movements as he races through the deserted streets of the settlement, his breath coming in ragged gasps. He reaches for his phone, fingers trembling with fear, only to find it ominously silent, devoid of any signal. The realization hits him like a physical blow, intensifying the sense of isolation and dread that grips him. With every passing moment, Rodian's panic threatens to consume him whole. He darts down alleyways and side streets, his mind a whirlwind of terror and confusion. Shadows seem to loom and shift in the dim light, each one a potential harbinger of the horrors that lurk in the darkness. Despite his frantic efforts, he finds himself unable to shake the feeling of being hunted, of being pursued by something unspeakable and relentless. Each empty street corner, each abandoned building looms like a specter of doom, fueling his fear to unbearable heights. Finally, he spots a familiar figure in the distance, the driver who brought him to the settlement. With a surge of hope, Rodian calls out, his voice hoarse with desperation. But his cries are swallowed by the oppressive silence of the night, lost in the void of the deserted streets. As he continues to run, his legs burning with exertion, Rodian knows that he is truly alone in this nightmare. And with every passing moment, the darkness seems to close in around him, threatening to swallow him whole. As Rodian races through the desolate streets, his terror mounts with each passing second. Suddenly, he glimpses a sight that freezes him in his tracks, a massive, dark cloud looming ominously on the horizon. Its form is twisted and sinister, casting an eerie shadow over the already eerie landscape. For Rodian, it's as if the very sky itself has turned against him, unleashing a malevolent force that threatens to consume everything in its path. The sight of the looming cloud fills him with a primal fear, instinctively triggering his fight or flight response. With each step he takes, the cloud seems to draw closer, its looming presence casting a pall of darkness over the entire settlement. Rodian's heart pounds in his chest, his breath coming in ragged gasps as he realizes the magnitude of the danger he faces. In the face of such overwhelming menace, Rodian's sense of helplessness only intensifies. He feels like a tiny speck in the vast expanse of the universe, utterly powerless against the oncoming storm. The air grows thick with dread as he braces himself for the inevitable impact, his mind racing with thoughts of what horrors the cloud may bring. As he stands transfixed, watching the cloud draw ever nearer, Rodian can't shake the feeling that he's staring into the abyss itself, and in that moment he knows that he may be witnessing the end of everything he's ever known. As Rodian steps into the dimly lit confines of the makeshift medical center, a shiver runs down his spine, as if an invisible hand were tracing icy fingers along his skin. There, in the eerie half-light, he finds Vasily Ivanovich, the enigmatic figure, whose presence seems to loom larger than life itself. The air is heavy with a sense of foreboding, thick with unspoken words and hidden truths. Vasily's gaze meets Rodian's with an intensity that sends a chill coursing through his veins, as if the older man can see straight into his soul. With an unsettling calmness, Vasily speaks of the impending storm, his words carrying an otherworldly weight that seems to hang in the air long after they've been uttered. There's a knowingness in his tone, a sense that he's privy to secrets far beyond the comprehension of mere mortals. As Rodian listens, a sense of unease settles over him like a suffocating blanket, wrapping him in its cold embrace. He can't help but wonder at the depth of Vasily's knowledge, at the way he seems to exist on the fringes of reality, a figure both of this world and beyond it. And yet, despite the chill that grips him, there's a strange comfort in Vasily's presence, a feeling that he holds the key to unlocking the mysteries that surround them. As Rodian follows him further into the shadows, he can't shake the sense that he's stepping into a realm where the laws of nature no longer apply, where the boundaries between the seen and the unseen blur into nothingness. Vasily Ivanovich's revelation sends a shiver down Rodian's spine, as if the very air around them has grown heavier with the weight of centuries-old secrets. The concept of yokai, whispered in hushed tones, feels like a forbidden knowledge, an ancient truth veiled in mystery and darkness. As Vasily speaks, his words carry the weight of ages past, weaving a tale of beings that existed long before the dawn of human civilization. These yokai, he explains, are not mere physical entities but manifestations of energy, living elements of nature itself. They dwell in the hidden corners of the world, lurking in the shadows cast by towering mountains and deep, dark forests. Rodian listens, his mind struggling to comprehend the enormity of what he's being told. These yokai, he realizes, are not bound by the laws of the physical realm, but exist on a plane of existence all their own, their presence felt rather than seen. They are the whispers in the wind, the rustle of leaves in the dead of night, the unseen forces that shape the world around them. And yet, despite their intangible nature, Vasili's words paint a vivid picture of these ancient beings, their power and presence felt in every gust of wind and rumble of thunder. It's a chilling reminder of the mysteries that lurk just beyond the edge of human understanding, waiting to be discovered by those brave enough to seek them out. As Rodion absorbs this revelation, a sense of awe and fear washes over him, mingling with the palpable tension that hangs in the air. For in that moment he realizes that the world he thought he knew is but a thin veneer, covering a reality far more ancient and terrifying than he could ever have imagined. And with that realization comes the understanding that he has stumbled upon something far more sinister than he ever could have anticipated. Vasily Ivanovich's demonstration sends a chill down Rodion's spine as he watches in horror and fascination. The unraveling bandage reveals not a hand, but a writhing mass of tentacles where Vasily's palm should be. It's a grotesque sight, one that defies the laws of nature and sends shivers of dread down Rodion's spine. As Vasily calmly explains, these tentacles are not a deformity or injury, but a deliberate transformation brought about by the influence of the yokai. They have taken residence within him, reshaping his very flesh to suit their own alien desires. To them, this transformation is not a curse, but a form of beauty, a grotesque elegance that defies human comprehension. For Rodion, it's a terrifying revelation, a glimpse into the true nature of the yokai and their ability to warp and twist the very fabric of reality. It's a reminder that they are not bound by the same rules that govern the world of men, but exist on a plane of existence all their own, where flesh and bone are mere playthings to be molded and shaped at their whim. And as he watches Vasily's tentacled appendage writhe and squirm before his eyes, Rodion can't help but feel a creeping sense of dread wash over him. For if the yokai can so easily transform one man's hand into a writhing mass of tentacles, what else are they capable of? What other horrors lurk just beyond the edge of human understanding, waiting to be unleashed upon the world? It's a question that haunts him as he struggles to come to terms with the terrifying truth of what lies hidden in the shadows. Vasily Ivanovich's revelation sends a shiver down Rodion's spine as he listens, transfixed yet horrified by the implications of what he's hearing. The old man's words paint a chilling picture of a struggle for control over his own body, a battle waged between his own will and that of the yokai dwelling within him. It's a concept that defies everything Rodion thought he knew about the nature of existence, a nightmarish vision of a world where the boundaries between self and other blur and twist in ways he can scarcely comprehend. To think that Vasily is not always the master of his own body, that there are times when he is little more than a puppet dancing to the tune of some unseen force, fills Rodion with a sense of dread unlike anything he's ever known. And yet, as Vasily speaks of the dangers of resisting the yokai's influence, of the dire consequences that await those who dare to defy its will, Rodion finds himself torn between fear and fascination. What kind of creature could possess such power over a man's very being? What dark secrets lie hidden within the depths of Vasily's soul, waiting to be unearthed? It's a question that gnaws at him as he listens, his mind awash with images of twisted forms and malevolent forces lurking just beyond the edge of human understanding. And as Vasily's words echo in his ears, warning him of the dangers that await those who dare to challenge the will of the yokai, Rodion can't help but wonder what fate has in store for him in this dark and shadowy world. Vasily Ivanovich's revelation plunges Rodion deeper into the abyss of despair and hopelessness. The old man's acceptance of his fate, his resignation to the presence of the yokai, sends a chill down Rodion's spine. How could someone come to terms with such a horrifying reality, with the knowledge that their very existence is at the mercy of malevolent entities beyond their control? As Vasily speaks of his decision not to leave the island when the nightmare began, citing the futility of his own life, Rodion feels a sense of profound sadness wash over him. To think that a man would willingly surrender himself to such darkness, to abandon all hope and resign himself to an eternity of torment, is almost too much for Rodion to bear. And yet, as Vasily continues, his words take on a sinister edge, a hint of something darker lurking beneath the surface. He speaks of the yokai's disdain for human ambition, of their desire to see mankind brought low, and Rodion can't help but wonder what role he himself might play in their twisted games. It's a realization that fills him with a sense of dread, a growing awareness of the true nature of the world he finds himself in. And as Vasily's words echo in his mind, Rodion can't shake the feeling that he, too, is being drawn into the abyss, that his fate is inexorably intertwined with that of the yokai who stalk the shadows. In a moment of defiance, Rodion rejects the influence of the yokai, his determination burning bright against the encroaching darkness. With a fierce resolve, he declares his intent to leave and start anew, to break free from the sinister grip of the supernatural forces that threaten to consume him. As the tension mounts, Rodion's anger boils over, fueling his actions as he seizes a stool and hurls it at Vasily Ivanovich, who stands before him, his form already partially transformed by the yokai's influence. The air crackles with an otherworldly energy, and Vasily's voice takes on an inhuman tone as he issues a chilling threat. But Rodion stands firm, his heart pounding with adrenaline as he stares down the creature before him. In this moment of confrontation, he refuses to cower in fear, instead channeling his fear into a defiant act of rebellion against the darkness that seeks to consume him. With each step towards freedom, Rodion's resolve strengthens, his spirit unyielding in the face of the unknown horrors that lurk in the shadows. And as he prepares to make his escape, he knows that the battle against the yokai is far from over, but he will face whatever challenges lie ahead with courage and determination. With a plan forming in his mind like a beacon of hope in the darkness, Rodion resolves to retrieve his belongings from his father's comrade-in-arms apartment. Every step is deliberate, every movement calculated, as he knows that his very survival may hinge on the success of this mission. The desolate streets of the settlement stretch out before him, shrouded in an eerie silence that seems to amplify the beating of his heart. Rodion's senses are heightened, every sound, every shadow sending a shiver down his spine. Yet, fueled by determination, he presses on, his gaze fixed on the distant horizon. As he reaches the apartment building, a sense of trepidation washes over him, mingling with the anticipation of what he might find inside. With a steadying breath, he pushes open the door, the creak of its hinges echoing in the empty hallway. Each step forward feels like a journey into the unknown, as Rodion navigates the familiar corridors, his heart racing with each passing moment. Finally, he reaches the door to his father's comrade's apartment, his hand trembling slightly as he reaches for the handle. With a quiet prayer on his lips, he pushes the door open, revealing a scene frozen in time. The room is cloaked in shadows, the air heavy with the weight of forgotten memories. But Rodion has no time for nostalgia. With swift, purposeful movements, he gathers his belongings, his fingers closing around the documents, money, and bank cards that will be his lifeline in the days to come. As he tucks them securely into his bag, he knows that his journey is far from over. With his resolve steeled, Rodion sets out into the night, the moon casting a pale glow over the silent streets. Each step takes him further from the safety of the settlement, but he walks with purpose, his eyes fixed on the distant lights of the military base. There, he hopes to find refuge, a beacon of hope in the encroaching darkness. As the storm draws nearer, Rodion's surroundings undergo a terrifying transformation, as if the very fabric of reality is unraveling before his eyes. The once serene sky darkens to a foreboding shade of black and gray, illuminated by jagged streaks of lightning that slice through the air like the wrath of an angry god. Each thunderclap reverberates through his bones, echoing the pounding of his heart, as if the very earth itself is trembling in fear. Yet, it's not just the storm that unsettles Rodion. As he navigates the desolate streets, he can't shake the feeling of being watched, of unseen eyes peering out from the shattered windows of the abandoned buildings that line his path. Shadows dance menacingly in the flickering light, twisting and contorting into grotesque shapes that seem to mock his every step. The air is heavy with a sense of impending doom, suffocating in its intensity. Every breath feels like a struggle, as if the very atmosphere is poisoned with malevolence. Rodion's senses are on high alert, every sound, every movement, setting his nerves on edge. Yet, despite the overwhelming sense of dread that threatens to consume him, Rodion presses on, driven by a primal instinct to survive. With each step he draws closer to his destination, the distant lights of the military base offering a glimmer of hope in the encroaching darkness. But as the storm rages on, he can't shake the feeling that something far more sinister lurks in the shadows, waiting to claim him as its next victim. As Rodion ventures closer to his father's former comrade's residence, a scene straight from his nightmares unfolds before him. The man's once benign tumor has ruptured, revealing a grotesque sight that sends shivers down Rodion's spine. Dark crimson masses, pulsating with a sickly rhythm, protrude from the gaping wound, each one adorned with a multitude of tiny eyes that seem to follow Rodion's every move with a malevolent gaze. The man, or what remains of him, turns to face Rodion with a twisted grin, his voice a guttural whisper that cuts through the eerie silence like a knife. He offers Rodion a chilling proposition, a twisted promise of relief from the horrors that surround them. But Rodion knows better than to trust the words of a creature so far removed from humanity. With a sense of dread coiling in the pit of his stomach, Rodion steels himself against the overwhelming sense of revulsion and presses on, his resolve hardened by the knowledge that he must escape this nightmare at any cost. The encounter serves as a stark reminder of the horrors that lurk in the shadows, a grim testament to the unfathomable depths of despair that threaten to consume them all. As Rodion approaches the military compound, a sinking feeling settles in his gut, a sense of dread creeping over him like a suffocating fog. The once imposing gates stand wide open, a chilling invitation into the heart of darkness that lies beyond. Strange phenomena unfold within the compound's walls, painting a nightmarish tableau of chaos and despair. From the windows of the guard posts, eerie green lights dance and flicker, casting eerie shadows that seem to reach out for him with ghostly fingers. The air hums with an otherworldly energy, punctuated by bursts of brilliant blue flashes that illuminate the darkness like distant lightning strikes. But it's the sight that greets him at the heart of the compound that sends a shiver down his spine and drives him to flee in terror. A grotesque spectacle unfolds before him, a macabre display of horror that defies all reason. At the center of it all, an infernal wheel spins wildly, engulfed in flames that lick hungrily at the night sky. Perched atop the wheel, a severed human head stares out with lifeless eyes, its grotesque visage twisted in a silent scream of agony. With his heart pounding in his chest, Rodion turns and flees from the military compound, the echoes of his footsteps drowned out by the cacophony of madness that surrounds him. It's a chilling reminder that even in the darkest of times, there are some horrors that defy explanation, some nightmares from which there is no escape. As Rodion ventures deeper into the dense forest, a sense of foreboding settles over him like a suffocating cloak. Every rustle of leaves and snap of twigs sends a shiver down his spine, reminding him of the lurking dangers that lie ahead. He braces himself for encounters with the wild beasts of the forest, from the fearsome bears to the elusive predators that prowl the depths of the ocean. Despite the howling wind that whips through the trees, Rodion's senses are drawn to a new threat looming on the horizon, a dense fog that billows forth from gaping chasms in the earth. Its tendrils twist and coil like serpents, weaving through the trees with an otherworldly grace that defies the laws of physics. With each step forward, the fog thickens, swallowing the forest in an impenetrable haze that blurs the line between reality and nightmare. Rodion's heart pounds in his chest as he presses on, his footsteps muffled by the damp earth beneath his feet. Every shadow seems to hold unseen horrors, every sound a whisper of impending doom. Yet, despite the overwhelming sense of dread that threatens to consume him, he knows that he must push forward, for to turn back now would be to surrender to the darkness that lurks within. As Rodion continues his desperate flight, he navigates through a treacherous landscape fraught with peril. He dodges the venomous tendrils of spectral domes, their ghostly presence a chilling reminder of the malevolent forces at play. Pressing onward, he finds himself traversing a narrow path hemmed in by towering bamboo, their rustling leaves whispering secrets of the forest's ancient inhabitants. His destination lies ahead, a secluded cove nestled between jagged cliffs, where the turbulent waters of the bay meet the land in a tumultuous embrace. Despite the looming storm that darkens the sky and churns the sea into a frenzy, Rodion knows that his only chance of escape lies in crossing the treacherous expanse during low tide, even though the idea seems nothing short of madness. With each step forward, the wind howls like a vengeful spirit, whipping his hair and clothes with icy fingers. The crash of waves against the rocks echoes in his ears, a constant reminder of the unforgiving power of nature. Yet, fueled by desperation and determination, Rodion resolves to risk it all, to brave the perils of the bay in a bid to break free from the clutches of the accursed village. As he stands at the water's edge, facing the tempestuous sea before him, Rodion knows that the journey ahead will test his courage like never before. But with every heartbeat, he is driven by the flicker of hope that burns within him, a beacon of light in the encroaching darkness. As Rodion casts one final glance at his forsaken village, he beholds a sight both mesmerizing and terrifying: a colossal jellyfish, its translucent tentacles undulating like ghostly tendrils in the murky depths below. It is the undisputed sovereign of these accursed shores, a silent sentinel guarding the secrets of the cursed island. Undeterred by the looming threat of the sea creature, Rodion strides resolutely onto the jet-black sands, his footprints a testament to his determination to escape the clutches of the forsaken village. With each step, he can feel the weight of his past life slipping away, replaced by a newfound resolve to seize control of his destiny. Bounding along the desolate beach, hemmed in by sheer cliffs that loom ominously overhead, Rodion's heart pounds in his chest like a drumbeat of defiance. The relentless crash of waves against the shore serves as a grim reminder of the perils that lie ahead, threatening to engulf him in their watery embrace. Despite the encroaching tide and the raging storm that gathers on the horizon like a dark omen, Rodion's thoughts remain fixed on one singular purpose: to return to Moscow and begin anew. Yet, as the tempest draws closer and the waves surge ever higher, he knows that his dreams hang in the balance, teetering on the brink of oblivion. With each passing moment, the sea churns with a malevolent fury, its frothing waves a relentless adversary in Rodion's quest for freedom. Yet, even in the face of overwhelming odds, he refuses to yield, his spirit unbroken by the specter of impending doom. For in the heart of darkness, amidst the howling winds and crashing waves, lies the spark of hope, a beacon of light guiding him through the storm to a brighter tomorrow.